I'm going to get us started because we have so much to cover today and only 1 hour to do it. So let me start by introducing myself. My name is Sarah Dorner, and I am the Assistant Dean for Graduate Admissions and International Outreach at the University of New Hampshire Franklin Pierce School of Law. Our law school is a part of the University of New Hampshire, but we are located in a separate location from the main university campus. Our law school is located in the state capital of Concord, New Hampshire. That while it's a small city, it really has a nice kind of small town community feel. We offer 3 specialized LLM programs in intellectual property, commerce and technology, and a fully online LLM in international criminal law and justice. This year, we have international students from around 25 different countries that are enrolled at our school. And we are here to talk with you today all about life in New Hampshire, why we're ranked the #2 state to live and the #1 state for safety. We'll talk a little bit about student life, our student organizations, support services, networking opportunities, and so much more. We invite you to use the Q&A function there at the bottom. If you have any questions, we will do our best to save some time at the end of the presentation for questions, and we're also happy to answer your questions as we go. So please don't hesitate to put your questions in there, and if we can't get to all of them today, we'll make sure to follow up with you by email after. So please keep the questions coming. We'll do our best. Before we really dive in, what I'd like to do is have each of our panelists introduce themselves, share a little bit about their background, their role at the law school, if they're staff, student, alum, and then we'll jump into the non-academic side of the LLM experience. Dean Berger, is this a convenient time to start with you? I know Dean Berger is kind of managing a few different things, but she is here with us today.
Good morning, everyone. I am the Assistant Dean for Students at the law school, and I also oversee operations for the facility. And in my student life hat, we oversee everything from new student orientation, and I think we'll kind of get the chance to talk about our orientation we do specifically for grad students, all the way up until students graduate through commencement.
Thank you. And then Justin, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Sure. Good morning, good evening. My name is Justin Galluli. I am a third-year law student at the University of New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce School of Law. I serve as the Student Bar Association president, which is like our student government at the law school. I'm also a teaching assistant for the first-year legal writing course, and happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us today. I feel like it's always a busy time of year, but I know that there's always lots going on this time of year as we head into kind of the Thanksgiving holiday. So thank you. Isha, it's so nice to have you with us. Can you say a few words about who you are and your background?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Dean Dorner. Good morning and good evening, everyone. So I have recently graduated from UNH Franklin in the month of May. And before coming to UNH Franklin, I was working in academic outreach as well as legal research in one of the national universities in India. And I often say people that I went from ships to trademarks since I have previously pursued a master's in international maritime law. And after pursuing and graduating this May, I have come back to India and I'm exploring opportunities in intellectual property, research, and outreach, again, focusing both in maritime and intellectual property. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today. And then Sumit.
Oh, hi, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sumit Kuswaha, and I'm from India, definitely, and currently pursuing my LLM in intellectual property law here at UNH Franklin Pierce. Before coming to here, I was working as a legal associate at Calcutta High Court and at the district courts, and I practiced from various cases, mostly intellectual property laws. And before that, I led a team of marketing at a private firm and also had a YouTube channel running. So I had the interest in creativity and the law intersection. So that was one of the reasons I chose this university.
Awesome. Thank you. So we have, as you can see, we have a great kind of section of panelists here today with different perspectives to offer. So again, we invite you to ask questions along the way. We'll save some time at the end. And I do want to make sure to also thank Loctopus for their help in organizing and promoting this event. So thank you. They've been a great partner. Okay, with that, let's jump into life beyond the classroom and the non-academic side of the LLM experience. So Sumit, I'm gonna start with you because I think your experience is still so fresh. You've been here with us for about 4 months now. So I'd love to hear just a little bit about your transition to life in the US and specifically how you're liking Concord, New Hampshire and the law school.
Oh, it has been, I mean, really, really exciting 4 months, probably the best 4 months of my life so far. And I have been to 5 states in US as well. And I mean, the transition has been really, really smooth. I mean, honestly, I feel that it was better than what I expected. Concord, Concord is really peaceful and safe, definitely, and is surrounded by too many trees. I have been to so many treks like Fume Gorge, Rugged Mountain. We have been to apple picking, and I try to like go on a trek every other week, so that I can get a break from the hassle of the law school. So I mean, the people here are really good. The JDs, they're excellent. The staff, everyone, everyone is really good. And also, I was elected as a LLM governor at Student Bar Association. So I am LLM governor right now. And recently, we went to uh, a trip to Boston and to explore the Freedom Trail there, and it was super fun.
That's awesome. So a whole group of you went. So you guys kind of did you take the bus down? Is that how you got to Boston?
Yeah, we took the Concord bus and then we went to Boston. We everyone we are 9 LLMs, so we went all.
That's so fantastic. And I think it's great that you took the bus. So Concord, as I mentioned, is it's a smaller city, but Boston is just
Right.
1 hour away from us. And there's, I think, almost hourly bus transportation between Concord and Boston. So super easy to get to. So that's great. And I didn't realize you'd been to 5 states already. I don't know how you had time for that.
I
Um,
had time like when I came to US. I came to New York, then Connecticut, then Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and now New Hampshire.
So the whole New England loop, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And still plenty of time to go. Well, thank you. And so Isha, you shared that you just graduated in May and you returned home to India to pursue employment there. Tell me, is there anything in particular that you really loved about Concord? Anything that you're missing since you left us?
Oh, I miss Concord a lot. I would say that Concord became a home in the most unexpected ways for me because during the very earlier stages there, I used to feel a lot of quiet there because usually here in India, the life begins after the sunset. And in Concord, after 6 p.m., it went really quiet. But I started enjoying the quiet and the peace at a later stage of my studies there, especially as a student you need that kind of quiet, and then we had so many events to look forward to. We always had something to plan our day out. We had first Fridays, we had Halloween halls, we had midnight merriments, and we had farmers markets. And while we were privileged enough to enjoy the peaceful, quiet atmosphere of Concord, we were also having the comfort of moving to Boston, just like Sumit mentioned, taking a short bus ride and just feel the city buzz if we are missing it at all. So yeah, I miss Concord a lot. It was a beautiful phase and experience for me.
Thank you for sharing that. I was thinking, was it your class? I think it was your class last year where you could see the Northern Lights one
Oh
night, and
yeah.
we just had that again this week. And I made it outside to see them, but I was thinking of your class setting. You guys were all out there together sending pictures of the experience. So um, it is definitely, a beautiful place to live, and we're just so fortunate to have that access to the outdoors. I wonder if you can think back to when you very first arrived and kind of, I know for many students that even though they feel comfortable pretty soon after arriving, there can still be, as you mentioned, like some culture shock. Like you're coming from a major city where there's a big nightlife. So I'm wondering if you can speak to that a little bit and how you adapted.
Oh yeah, I still remember my first week here in Concord as well as New Hampshire. So there were first shock was the quiet. And I was not actually expecting, honestly speaking, that people would be so warm and friendly here, but they were to my surprise. And it was really a pleasant surprise for me. And it continued throughout my academic year here. And people were always cordial, they were always warm, welcoming, smiling. And I felt that we could always reach out to people, and it was quite a shock that turned into a surprise and then a pleasant feeling for me. So yeah, the quiet was the cultural shock, but then I understood why it existed and it made all the sense throughout the year.
It's funny, I'm just thinking as you're talking about how quiet it was. It's so relative. Yesterday, my mother was here in Concord for the day, and she lives further up north in New Hampshire in the Lakes region. And she's like, there's just so many people. I've got to get back to the quiet. So it is relative, but I do think what we do hear from our students that there's fewer distractions, right? Like there's a lot going on downtown. They're never bored. There's never nothing to do, but that they're able to focus on their studies. And then just like Sumit and his colleagues did last week, take a day trip to Boston when they have that time to do so. So thank you. Sumit, I know for a lot of international students when they're looking at law schools and their options, that they really wonder about where they're going to live, right? Like housing is one of the biggest questions that we get. So I'm wondering if you can tell me a little bit about your experience, where you're living, how you found housing, and what that process was like.
So housing was easier than I expected actually. The law school is, since you mentioned that the law school is in the residential area and is really quiet here, and most of the students, they live, like the international ones, they live within the walking distance within 10 or 5 minutes. So where I live right now is right next to school, like it's hardly 5 to 10 meters, and it saves a lot of time for me. And if it's suppose if it's raining, or it's maybe, I haven't seen the snow right now, but maybe when it snows, I'll not have to walk much, since my friends who are living like 10 minutes away or 20 minutes away, they need to walk till here. And when it snows, and it will be really difficult for them. Finding the housing like wasn't really difficult. I contacted Sarah, and then she was like, yeah, I will get you on the list, and then whenever it is available, we'll get you in. And then that's how I got in. It was really easy process. uh, that's how I found it.
Awesome. Yeah, we do our best. So the law school does own some housing, and we do our best to accommodate our LLM students because we know it can be really hard, particularly international students, to find housing when you're not here to do that, don't know the system. So while we can't guarantee spots for everybody, we do our best to accommodate our international LLM students first. And then those who don't get housing with us, we do have a portal where they can search for housing in the community, people who have posted on our site specifically for law students to see. And as you mentioned, most students are able to find housing within walking distance. You mentioned the snow, and we'll talk more about the weather in the moment, but I do think, and I will say, my husband was driving up north yesterday and sent pictures of snow, so it is coming. But the law school, and Dean Berger can speak to this as well, is really mindful about safety. They recognize that not everyone is within walking distance of the law school. And so if there are any safety concerns for those who have to drive, they'll usually either cancel or move classes online for the day. So don't worry too much about when that happens. So Justin, let me turn to you. So you're originally from New York, but you lived in New Hampshire for several years now. Talk to me about the weather and the seasons and what someone from different parts of the world can expect when they move to New Hampshire.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Yeah, New Hampshire is definitely where you want to go if you want to like get that winter wonderland experience. It's kind of like being on the inside of a snow globe in the winter. It's really quite beautiful. Actually, I know you just mentioned that there were some snow sightings up north. I was talking with a a friend of mine who lives, family lives about an hour and a half north of Concord, and they said they got about 5 inches of snow, or we're planning to get 5 inches of snow today. Meanwhile, here in Concord, there's nothing. So that's like one of the nice things about New Hampshire is like if you live in the right spot, you can get the snow if you want to drive a little bit further north, but you don't have to get it immediately like they do. But it's really nice. I will say they do a really good job here in New Hampshire of keeping good care of the roads, and it's pretty safe to drive. They plow the roads and salt the roads when it gets snowy and icy. Um, and there's a lot of opportunities to take advantage of it. A lot of fun can be had. A lot of winter sports opportunities. A lot of like Sumit mentioned, you can go hiking. You can go buy some snowshoes and go walking through the snow if you really wanted to. If you want to own a good coat and a pair of boots if you're walking to school. But it's quite unique compared to New York. It's definitely the winters are a little more a little more snow involved. It's still pretty cold, but you really do get used to it. It's got a different feel to it. It's beautiful having all 4 seasons in New Hampshire. You've got your hot summers, you've got your kind of cool, very comfortable fall and spring, and then you've got a true winter. You kind of get it all.
I'm glad you mentioned the other seasons because I think, winter does stand out, but we are so fortunate in New Hampshire that we do have all 4 seasons. I think when our LLM students arrived this fall, we had this ice cream social outside, but it was like too hot to be outside. People had to move inside to the air conditioning. Um, and we're kind of just past that peak foliage now. And so it really is there's different activities for every season. Sumit mentioned apple picking in the fall. The winter, Justin, you mentioned snowshoeing, and we take students snow tubing, and then there's hiking. So many different activities, and we're so fortunate that there's a lakes region, there's mountains, and then we're not far from the ocean. So New Hampshire truly is a great place for people who appreciate the outdoors, but still want access to, the city as well. It's easy to get there. So awesome. Thank you. All right. So we talked a little bit about New Hampshire and Concord. Let's kind of move now towards our law school, the University of New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce School of Law. And before we kind of jump into all the different opportunities available to students, Dean Berger, I wonder if you can share a little about the range of support services that students can access while they're here with us.
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I think we truly at the law school consider students as like a whole person, not just someone here studying law, but that there are other things that are part of them that we want to make sure we can support and provide resources for. So I think a couple things that come to mind of other supports include our access to mental health services. So we actually have a counselor who comes on to our campus once a week. It's completely confidential. We also have partnerships with a local YMCA, which is a local gym, and students that join there, they have a discounted rate, but there's fitness classes, there's open gym time, free weights. In the law school itself, we actually have a small gym, so students can access that whenever the law school is open. One other thing, the law school physically itself is very small, so we don't have health services right on campus, but we do have excellent student health benefits, and as an international student, it's required to get our health benefits. So there's a lot of access to whether it's urgent care, setting up a primary care doctor, or other types of medical needs, very local in the Concord area. Another thing I would just briefly mention is we also bring in resources from our main campus in Durham, which is about an hour away. So we have the Office of Civil Rights come to our campus typically once a week. We have this SHARP office come to campus once a week. So we try to bring in other resources to help support students during the time that they're enrolled with us.
Can you speak a little bit to like physical health and the opportunities? I know that there's like a small gym and then perhaps a discount for the Y as well.
Yes. Yep. Like I said, there is a small a membership you can get from the YMCA. At that YMCA, they do have free weights, they have a pool, they have group classes. So there's lots of opportunities for physical well-being.
Awesome. And
The other
Concord,
thing I would also mention, and we maybe we'll dive into this a little bit later on, is our student organizations. And we have a number of student organizations that tend to be around like physical activity. So we have a sports club. This weekend, they're actually doing an alumni basketball tournament. So they'll have different students playing in a tournament against alumni. Last month, there was a kickball tournament and a tradition kind of called the Buck Bowl, where the different classes play one another. So there's opportunities for students to participate in those.
yeah, so that's American football, the Buck Bowl, and
Yeah.
then yeah, and then
It's actually not football, it's flag football,
flag
but
football.
American flag football.
Okay, and then I
And
know
the 3Ls won. We won.
congratulations. And then I know in the winter, you know, we are right next door to a park that has a small pond that freezes over, and so there's ice skating and an ice hockey tournament that happens as well. So you're, and then of course the softball tournament. So lots of different sports opportunities. Yeah. And these are all optional. We don't force people to do sports while they're here, but there are plenty of opportunities. Isha, can you think back to, you know, if there was a time that you just kind of accessed any of these support services, or, you know, a time that you felt extra supported?
Oh yeah, of course. There were multiple times, but I would like to mention one here that really felt special because there was a time during my academic year when I was juggling a lot of things at the same time. And there was a time when I was kind of feeling overwhelmed with all the readings, with the assignments, and also with my part-time job. So I just took the assistance and I arranged for the coaching session, the wellness coaching session, and it really helped me channelize all my thoughts and put the process and action into a very structuredized manner rather than feeling overwhelmed about it. And it really helped me out. And I realized how these things can really matter and make a difference in a law student's life, especially when you are in a different country and dealing with a lot of transitions at the same time.
Yeah, I think it can be, even when students are having a really positive experience, there's always this moment of homesickness and just feeling like things are so different than what you're used to. And that can be overwhelming. And it's great to know that there's support here for students to kind of move through that. Dean Berger, let me turn back to you. And I'm just curious, you talked kind of broadly about all of the support services. Anything additional that we offer for international students, or students coming from outside the U.S., special events that the law school hosts to ensure a positive student experience and the opportunity to really engage in American U.S. culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a couple things that come to mind. I briefly mentioned we do have a graduate student orientation, and it's specifically for international students that it comes before our orientation for JD students. And so students come for 3 days. It's a small group, very intensive. And we really kind of break down everything you need to know, not just about being a student or even being a law student, but how can we best help you transition into American culture? We have a staff member who oversees that and is really there one-on-one to answer even very small questions that come up just as students are making that really significant transition. And then after that student orientation, usually a couple weeks after classes start, we do an ice cream social to bring people together. Just kind of touch base. It's always the place we go to, the small ice creams are like as big as people's heads. So it's always fun to see the options that students choose. And then we try to do some type of a social or programmatic thing once a month. So in September, we did apple picking. In October, we actually did a pumpkin carving event just for our international students. Next Friday, so a week from today, we're having a traditional American Thanksgiving meal. So we'll serve that at the law school in one of our small conference rooms. In January, we'll take students to the main campus in Durham, which is kind of on the other side of the state, about an hour away, to attend a hockey game. So kind of get to experience like a traditional American college sporting event. We do a tubing event. So at a local snow mountain, there's tubing. So you get on these big tubes, you kind of like link together, go down. It's always a blast. So we try to do different things like that throughout the year to bring people together and have fun.
Yeah, the snow tubing, it's like hard to explain. Like you
Mhm.
just kind of climb up this little hill and then put yourself on a tube and just go sliding down.
You
But
don't even need to climb up. There's like a
right.
little lever. You just go
Yeah.
up the little lever.
It is a funny thing. And I know some of our international students do like take a ski lesson or two while they're here. So we live, but the law school, I think of it as my home, is so close to a number of different mountains. Sumit mentioned hiking at Ragged Mountain, but that turns into a ski mountain in the winter. And then there's another local mountain about 25 minutes from the law school that does night skiing. So there's lots of opportunities to get out and try something new. And it's interesting when you mentioned apple picking. I was thinking how that really did start as an opportunity for international students, and it's expanded into a whole community-wide event. So we have all of our students are invited, faculty, staff, their families. I was there with, I think, all of my children, some combination. And it's a really nice time. The law school provides apple cider and cider donuts, which is kind of typical foods in the fall. So a really nice time.
I would also say the other, and Justin might speak more to this, is the opportunity for students to participate, whether it's in student organizations, but especially on our student bar association, which is our student government. So we do have class governor, class leader positions available there. And it's a nice way for students to really get to know JD students, American students throughout their year serving in that role.
Yeah, I think it's great for us to kind of talk more about some of the organizations and leadership opportunities. Let me just kind of, before we move to that, Isha or Suma, Dean Berger mentioned our special international student orientation. So this is where we invite our international students to arrive first before our other students arrive to get acclimated. So I wonder if you can just talk a little bit about that experience and how it might have helped you adjust here.
I think that experience for me was incredibly reassuring because as an international student, we come with a lot many questions and confusions, and sometimes we are not able to put them into words. But I think the international students orientation helped us transition through everything, right from the academics and to even like creating bank accounts and some of the cultural shocks that we might come across, which we might not have thought about. Everything was given a well thought about it. And I remember Dean Berger mentioning that as some of us were really excited to see our first snowfall, Dean Berger was mentioning us that it might all feel like a fairy tale in the beginning, but it might all feel a little gloomy some days when you might start questioning a lot of things in life and you might feel that the snow has now started becoming an obstacle rather than the fairy tale event in your life. And it was preparing us rather than scaring us, and it was really required for us. And that was the moment when I realized that law school really understands and realizes the transition that international students goes through, and they really put it out clearly to us that what it is going to be in the future and how we can help you out in any circumstance that you might feel or come across or experience. So yeah, it was really reassuring for us, and especially personally for me it was.
Yeah. Suma, anything that you would want to add about your experience at international student orientation, or did we cover it all?
Oh, we pretty much covered everything, but I mean, the experience for me, like when I came first, I definitely I was like, what to do, like where to start from, how to make friends. Since getting into school housing, I made few of the friends prior, but then at the international orientation, I get to see a lot of faces, and then it's actually easier to make friends right there before the school starts, so we get a kind of a head start to it.
Yeah, it is. It's nice that you have that chance to arrive. And I will say candidly, I instantly liked you because you were so kind and thoughtful and brought homemade Indian treats that your mother had made, which was so kind. And I think that really just speaks to the community here in general, right? Like it's just a community filled with nice, kind, thoughtful people, which I think is probably why we selected you for admission and why you felt like this was the right place for you. So,
Can I just kind of add on to that? I'm going to shout out to Justin, who was also a very nice, kind person. And There were some issues with the students going to Boston last week with just the payment. And Justin like swept in, like drove to go get it resolved at like 8:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And I truly do think though that that's one of the reasons that our school is special, is that students really care about each other and want to try to problem solve when they can.
Yeah, I think, obviously people are choosing law school because it's, the academics, right? Like that's you're going for the program itself, but there's so much more. And that's what we're here to talk about today. And I think we're so fortunate that there really is this strong sense of community, and this general goodwill for people. When you walk through the hallways, people know you by name and they say hello. And they want to problem solve and help one another. It's supportive. It's not cutthroat or competitive. There's really a feeling of support. So awesome. Okay. So we are focused on life outside the classroom, but as I mentioned, obviously you're coming for the learning. And so I want to make sure we briefly address some of the academic services that we offer students, whether you need additional support or just want to make sure you're on track. Dean Berger, I wonder if you could share a little bit about what we call our academic success program.
Yeah, our academic success program, also known as ASP, is our place where students can go just to receive some extra academic support. There is a program director who also teaches at the law school. So right now this semester he teaches a contracts course. And then it's also supported by other, we refer to them as adjunct faculty, part-time faculty, one of which teaches some other classes in legal writing. Another one, she was previously in-house counsel for a pretty large company. She works remotely. So there's kind of different folks that work there that have different backgrounds, different skills, talents, and can work one-on-one with students in areas where they just might need some extra support. So for example, time management, organization, creating an outline, kind of drilling down into fact finding, or learning how to use IRAC, which is a kind of framework around writing. So it's just another resource that's available to students, whether someone wants to meet in person or remotely, to provide some extra guidance.
And I think, we make sure to introduce our LLM students to that program even before they arrive with us, especially for those who think that they might want to sit for a US bar exam. The director of that program, Professor Frost, has prepared a PowerPoint presentation to kind of talk through students through what they need to do to prepare even before they arrive here. So, and then he joins us at orientation to talk more about the bar exam, but also just the services that they provide. And I think, Sumit, Isha, and Justin, I'd love your feedback on this, but my perception is that accessing ASP services is not stigmatized, right? Like students are tapping into that because they want to just better themselves and, do as well as they can. And that it's really actually sought after and very common for students to seek support. Am I right in thinking that?
Yes. Law school is hard. You're going here because not because it's easy, but because it's a difficult track in order to improve your career, your life. And there's nothing wrong with asking for a little help. So it really isn't stigmatized. I think people will regularly talk to each other about like, yeah, I had to go see and talk with Professor Frost. He's great. He's really funny. He's a friendly person to talk with, and he's very helpful. He's knowledgeable about how if you're a JD student, how the bar examination works and how qualifying for the bar examination works. I Sumit and Isha can speak to maybe how he's helped them or how they've accessed the services. But I think, yeah, the academic success program is very useful for law students.
Yeah, I completely agree that there is nothing wrong. Rather, I would say there is this comfort that you can always reach out to someone when you are not feeling how we should be proceeding with certain like time management tips, or maybe writing the exam, or even as Dean Berger just mentioned, the IREC, like analyzing a case in a very American style. So it is always a comfort there that you can reach out to people. And many of my batchmates did access to ASP and they really appreciated it. And I felt that having an access to such a resource in a law school especially from an international background. You really require this, and it is really comforting.
Yeah, you make a good point, Isha, about kind of like time management and that it's not just like the knowledge that you're getting, like, right? It's like those soft skills that are so important that will make you a good lawyer. And ASP is there to support that as well. And it's skill development, right? Like you do have to kind of practice those things and try different strategies. So that's great to hear. Awesome. Justin, we talked a little bit about kind of the Student Bar Association and your role as governor, and Dean Berger kind of alluded to the breadth of student organizations at our law school. Can you share a little bit more about your role on SBA and some of the different student organizations we have?
Yeah, absolutely. Sumit is actually our LLM governor. So we actually have, third of our panel comes from SBA. And Dean Berger is actually our advisor. So I guess half the panel. So yeah, I serve as the president of the Student Bar Association. We are focused on making sure that the students are being, their interests are being represented to the school, that we are promoting a culture and a environment conducive to education, to becoming better future attorneys or legal practitioners, or just better people. We're focused on making sure that people's needs are being met. So we do a lot of that through programming. So we do a lot of student organized and student led events. We are self-funded. We all pay a fee that goes towards our own programming. So the Student Bar Association helps keep track of the budget, and we help organize these events with the clubs. And we have student organizations across many different different needs. So like we have student organizations that will service spiritual needs. We have student organizations that service physical needs, like Dean Berger mentioned, the sports club. We have organizations that serve your professional needs. If you are really interested in IP law, intellectual property, we have student organizations that only focus on trademarks, and some that only focus on exec licensing. And we have ones that focus more broadly into intellectual property. We have some that go into other areas of the law. We have some for criminal law and some for health law. It's really, there's something there for you. It's a great way to meet other people, to network with other people. It's a great way to develop your own skills and maybe it's a way for you to figure out what you want to do, and if that's more your speed. The Student Bar Association also does a really good job, I think, of working to improve student life in various ways. We have a lot of ongoing projects, and we're always open to hearing student feedback, especially from our LLM students. Sumit has done a wonderful job so far as an LLM governor in making sure that his classmates their needs are being met. He helped organize this trip to Boston, which sounds like it was a great success. Really great cultural opportunity for them to go. We have some other projects. We do some really cool things. One of the ones I'm very proud of is that we supply school supplies to all students. We have a communal school supply in the student lounge, where if you need things like pens, paper, notebooks, flashcards, anything you could need to study or attend class, you'll never have to go to the store. You can just go down to the student lounge and get whatever you need whenever you want. So little things like that really make a difference, and it helps foster this culture that we have at the law school, because we're all going to be future professionals. We're all going to be really great attorneys, and it's a great way to pay it forward, and hopefully that everyone does that when they graduate.
I agree 100%. It's those little things that really make a difference. And when I think about international students and they're kind of wrapping their heads around this huge expense and investment they're making to move here, to enroll at a US law school, to just know that, if they just need a notebook, which of course doesn't cost a lot of money, but to know that it's just one less thing they have to worry about, that it will be there for them. I think it really does make a difference. I'm glad you mentioned that. I think it's also worth noting that there's like endless food at the law school. Whenever there's an event happening, there's, usually the groups will order some kind of food and the leftovers get put out at the reception desk. Yesterday, I think, Dean Berger, you hosted what we call Donuts with the Deans, where there's coffee and donuts, and just an opportunity for students and our deans and other staff and faculty to come and connect kind of casually, and get to know one another. And it's a great opportunity to meet new people. And if you have a quick question you need to get answered, and get your morning cup of coffee as well. Sumit, so we talked about your role on SBA. So I wonder if you can share a little bit more about some of the groups you've gotten involved in, because I think with over 40 different student organizations, it's hard not to get involved, right? People really do get engaged. And I know one of the groups you work with planned a special event the other week that was really lovely. So can you share a little bit about that?
Oh, I have been in a lot of groups, like literally every group. So it's not possible to be there at every event, but we hosted like Diwali here, and then last day there was a sports event going on, and we had panelists from there as well. So in the Diwali event. Uh, which happened, I guess, the last week, since we were busy with our midterms, and then it was really fun. Like and it was a good get together. Like since we don't have much Indian students here right now, but we were like able to organize it, and then with and and we had a lot of other students as well to the event. So it was super fun. Then the event we had last day, so we got to know a lot about the AI and the sports. So it's actually fun to go to a lot of events, and there's a lot of thing happening on the campus every day.
I think, Sumit, too, because I stopped in at that Diwali event that was hosted by the Asian Pacific American Law Student Association. And I think it's important to note that our Dean Carpenter, she actually stepped out of a faculty meeting so that she could come and spend a little time at that event. So it's not just students who show up for these, like our staff and faculty want to support these events as well, especially when it comes to our international students and celebrating their cultures and special holidays. Um, Isha, you joined a number of different groups, so it's so great that we have Justin talking about some things, and Sumit, can you share a little bit about some of the groups you participated in?
Oh yeah, there are. As Sumit mentioned, there are so many organizations and group at UNH, and you can be part of every group, but then you cannot be there at the same time. And there are so many events happening. But I was really involved in the Diversity Coalition, the Women Law Society Association, the Environmental Law Society, and also the CIPLA. And I really enjoyed the Women in IP nights that they organized. It was such a lovely and wonderful event. We got to learn from the practitioners in IP who all were females, and they were also inspiring. And all the events that took, we used to get emails like regularly. There was one or the other event happening at the same time, and it was also exciting. Even the weekends were so exciting that we were always looking forward to attending some events. And yeah, and then there were also some lecture series which were like beyond the academics, I would say. Like we had the ipso facto lecture series which were organized each Friday, and they were also very exciting, where we got to learn from the IP practitioners, and where even the faculties joined us as the participants and as an audience, and they were also welcome to ask questions and engage in the discussion that was going on. So yeah, it was all very lovely and wonderful.
And that's actually, it's a great segue, because you mentioned kind of, we talked about the student organization sponsored events, but also events that the school sponsors to kind of, to support academic enrichment. So a number of different centers and departments at the law school, such as our IP Center or the Office of Career and Academic Advising, they will host special events for students. You mentioned ipso facto. Dean Berger, I wonder if you could speak a little bit more about any networking opportunities or professional gatherings that go on.
Yeah, I mean, there's two actually that come to mind just from this week. So last night, Career Services hosted a pretty significant networking event right on campus. And so all students were invited to attend that. And, that's not something that's totally infrequent. Last month, when we had our homecoming alumni reunion, there was also, opportunity for students to meet with alumni during that. And I think our alumni office does a really nice job, especially for international students, trying to intentionally invite them to things, knowing that they're here for such a short amount of time. One other that comes to mind in January is, or sometimes February, depending on the weather, happens during our pond hockey tournament. There's always a pretty big alumni event that happens the Friday of that tournament. So there's lots of places for students to get to engage, network with alumni. And the other thing I will mention is at present, the Assistant Dean for Career Services, Neil Sirota, he also teaches the international students in their ALPA class, which is the American Legal Process Analysis class, Isha, or Sumi, please feel free to jump in there. So they really have kind of that like small group one-on-one access to him. So he's able to really get to know students and kind of plug them in, whether it's different alumni or different law firms, as appropriate. And another thing that just happened this week that kind of not necessarily a networking event, but kind of a special event hosted by a department, is there was a group of students that actually got to go to the State House and do a tour and meet the governor of New Hampshire. So as a result of being in Concord, we have kind of access to some of those pretty significant government resources in the state.
Yeah, that looks like a really awesome opportunity for students. And it's reminding me that just a few weeks ago, we were contacted by the World Affairs Council. They had a delegation that was here focusing on IP related issues. So they had, I think, 8 different people from 8 different countries. And they came, they wanted to hear a little bit about how we're teaching IP, see our IP library, and get to meet our students. So we invited all of our international students to come and have lunch with them. And there was some really great networking that happened during that event. It was really cool to see. And then you mentioned the event last night. I think you said the Inns of Courts event. Justin, have you attended that one in the past?
Yeah, I went there my 1L year, my first year of law school, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool. It's kind of like speed dating. We went from like table to table, and we would be given like a topic to talk about with the attorneys and judges at that table. They are very respected attorneys and judges from all over the state of New Hampshire, and they gave us a lot of really, really cool stories and great advice. And, you know, there were business cards being given out, there were emails being given out. I'm sure a couple of people even got summer internships from that networking event. And they do it every year. It's a really great event. It's a lot of fun, and you get to talk to a whole range of different.
And I think the fact that we are the only law school in the state of New Hampshire really gives us such great access to practitioners in the state and helps us build those connections. So it's great to see that you were able to tap into that. I'll mention too that the Greater Concord Chamber of Commerce has a what they call a Concord Young Professional Network. And they host monthly gatherings that are open to the community, usually held at different businesses. The law school's actually hosted in the past, but that's just a great opportunity, I think, as well for students to connect with professionals in the community and even, and then build some friendships outside of the law school as well. So I've definitely seen some students connect. We've seen some of our international students come and they meet people here at the law school that become lifelong partners. And we've seen them connect with other people in the community through some of these events that turn into lifelong relationships. So it's wonderful to see. Okay, we are almost at time. I want to just invite people who are with us. If you have any questions, do feel free to put those in the chat, and we'll save a few minutes for those. Before we turn to your questions, though, let me ask each of our panelists about your favorite thing about life at UNH Franklin Pierce School of Law, whether that's, at the law school specifically, the City of Concord, or just living in New Hampshire. If you could pick just, one thing, what would you say? And Isha, I'll start with you.
I would say the peace and the calm, that is what I miss the most, and also how the people were really warm here.
Awesome. Sumit, could you pick just one thing that stands out for you?
For me, it's the hike, the nature. It's lovely.
Yeah. And I think that is I think people appreciate it so much more because when you're kind of inside all day in class and then studying, it's so nice that it's just the outdoors is so accessible here. So awesome. Justin, what would you say?
It's definitely the people, from the students to faculty to the administrators and staff at the school. The people really make it a pretty special place, and I look forward to going to the school every day. So
Awesome.
it's great.
And Dean Berger.
Yeah, I would say work-wise, I totally agree with Justin that it's the people. I was actually talking to a colleague yesterday. We went and grabbed coffee. There's a really great coffee shop right next to the law school. And as we were walking back, we were just talking about their professional growth and how important the people are, no matter where you work or what type of work you do. It's often people stay in jobs because of the relationships that they have in that place. And I absolutely agree with that. And I think kind of outside of work, I completely agree that just the access to nature. I was talking to my husband actually, ironically, this morning, and he's from Michigan, which is about halfway through the U.S. And he actually made a comment about how he's like, I never want to live in another state other than New Hampshire. Because we truly are, you're close to Boston, you're close to the mountains, you're close to the ocean, and can really see lots of different things.
I've heard from people who either grew up or lived in New Hampshire for a period of time and then they move away and they find that they feel like they miss the change in seasons, that it's like it just kind of informs our lives so much. It's like, okay, fall, back to school. And then now we're kind of rolling into the holidays and just like kind of time to hunker down and be cozy. And then just when that gets old, the flowers are blooming. And so that cyclical nature is helpful. You mentioned the coffee shop next door. And I think it's important to mention that I wish I had the number, but Concord really does have a coffee culture. There's a number of different coffee shops. And one of our other alumni who had done a panel like this, she could tell she spent time at every single coffee shop studying. So for those of you who enjoy a cup of coffee, there's lots of options. We're also really fortunate that our law school has its own cafe right in the building. And this is not common, I think, for a lot of law schools. So we're really fortunate that they're there serving breakfast and lunch typically. They also cater a lot of events that are hosted at the law school. And they also own their own restaurant right next door. So, we're really fortunate that if you're at the law school for the day and don't want to have to get downtown to get food or get home, that you've got several options that are right on site for you. As well as Dean Bridger, there's like a little snack bar, right? Where it's kind of like an honor system, take a snack, leave your money. So there's fuel all the time.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that's a really good point about we call it the jury box, the cafe right in the school. Seamus runs it. He's been with us for several years. He knows almost all of the students. And I think he very much, when I'm thinking about like wellness and well-being, he's someone who's always looking out for students, not just to, help them with making a sandwich or bagels or an omelet in the morning, but just kind of another person that's really important and part of our community.
Yeah, I think, what stands out for me is this culture of caring and that people are really invested in the success of others. They want everyone to do the best that they can and to support them in that journey. So know that when you come to our law school, you will find a family here. You will be challenged academically but you will have lots of support around you while that's happening. I do see one question in the chat here that gets back to, I think, Dean Berger, when you were talking about health insurance and the medical system. So asking about, access to medical care, especially kind of, critical or emergency care. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So there is a Concord Hospital which has an emergency room right very close to the law school within walking distance. And then there's also lots of access to what we refer to as urgent care clinics, which is kind of a smaller clinic. So let's just say you get a cold or you have the flu or you think you might have COVID. And it's not an emergency where maybe you broke your arm or broke your leg or tore your ACL. So there's a lot of very close access to those medical resources.
Yeah, lots of options in sight. I think the health insurance options now have good options for virtual care as well, if it's something that's, not like a super emergency, but just some basic questions that you need met. The question that I just saw also kind of asked about just adjusting to the cold. It might be cold outside, but we keep the building really warm. There's, everything is heated. And I do think you want a proper coat and some mittens and boots in the winter, but if you're not interested in kind of winter sports, then just the basics. If you want to really spend considerable time outdoors, it's important to have the right gear, and they make these little like disposable heaters for your hands to keep them warm. I ski, and so I invested in a pair of like rechargeable like heated gloves, which have been awesome. Um, but I think it's just you got to get outside and get that sunlight and fresh air, and it really it's beautiful, and it does get cold, but you do adjust. You do. Um, yeah, and I think so. This other question that just came in is also about medical facilities. I mean, they're great facilities here. We have excellent access. Um, in rare situations, someone might get transferred to Boston to a bigger hospital. There was like something really serious going on, but we are really close to the hospital here in Concord. And there's lots of just kind of primary care physicians within the area as well.
Yeah, I would just kind of add on to that, Sarah, that there's certainly like also access to specialty doctors. So there's a great website. It's actually run by Concord Hospital that can connect anyone, not just students, but to providers that are taking new patients. And so whether it's like a general practitioner that you're looking for or something more specific, there's certainly specialties as well.
Yeah, awesome. And then this mentioned about the expenses. Yes, the expenses to come and study, of course. So currently the tuition for the LLM program is 43,000 US dollars. I anticipate that for the next academic year, it will increase by maybe 1,000 US dollars. We do offer a number of generous partial tuition scholarships, and nearly all students who request some scholarship support get some level of funding, typically in the range of about 25 to 45% of the cost of tuition. And that's built into the application process. In order to request your I-20 and start that visa process, you do need to also show that you have proof of funds to cover not just your tuition, but your living expenses. In New Hampshire, in Concord, the estimated expenses for the duration of the program is approximately 24,000 US dollars. I think most of our students live on much less than that while they're here, but you do need to show that you have those funds available. Sumit and Isha, I wonder if either of you have a sense of like what your monthly expenses look like when you think about housing and food and transportation.
Yeah, so for transportation, we rarely spent anything as the law school was right across our student housing, and for groceries, we usually went like walking there, and we did not spend much on transportation. But yes, if you are planning for traveling outside of Concord, then you might access to the bus services, and that is not a lot if you are earning part-time as a student worker, or maybe if you are having your savings, but I would say it is around 500 to 600 monthly if you calculate all the groceries and travel expenditure, and also if you are eating out sometimes.
Yeah, for me as well, it was around the same number, like $300 to $400. It depends on what you are actually having for the grocery, and also it's really important to make connections here, friends, so that if since you have to go for the grocery shopping, so you can get access to that. And also we have the Concord bus service, which is free of cost. So for the first time when I went to Walmart, I used that bus service, and it was free. So it is like the bus is available every other hour or every hour, I guess. And then it's really easy if you access the bus.
Yeah, and then downtown it's walking distance, so not too hard to get around. And I think you're right that your expenses are going to depend on how you approach things, but we definitely, you know, I think students will, if there's pizza at an event on campus, you know, that can be lunch for the day. But yeah, so that's a sense of what the expenses are. Let me just see if I've missed any other questions. I think we got it. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, in conclusion, let me see, just before we wrap up, I'll turn back to our panelists, just see if they have any final thoughts or piece of advice. And I'll mention before I do that and we close out that we are currently accepting applications for our LLM programs beginning next August. If you're looking to study online, we do have online options and are still accepting applications for programs beginning in January, if that doesn't feel too soon for you. But if you're looking to enroll with us next year in our LLM in intellectual property or LLM in commerce and technology, we are accepting applications. There is still plenty of time before the deadline, but we do encourage international students to apply soon to just ensure sufficient time for the visa process. It takes a little while for us to review your materials, for you to get your I-20 and then apply for a visa spot. So we encourage you to start that process as soon as you're able, and we're here to guide you through it. So with that, let me turn back to our panelists to see if they have any final thoughts, advice, key takeaway that they would want to share with prospective LLM students considering pursuing their LLM with us. Isha, do you want to go first, or I'll just have you all unmute. I don't want to make you say something, but if you have something to say, go ahead and unmute and you can share.
Yeah, I would just like to say that choose your LLM program wisely. And if you are nervous, it's okay because you are stepping out of your comfort zone. But if you are confused, it's not okay. It is always advisable to reach out to people and ask questions. And I think for me, and I would personally see and say this, that UNH has been a perfect place, and it just not enhances your resume, it enhances you as a person. It shapes you as a person as well. So again, choose your LLM program wisely. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? No, we covered so much. Justin, go ahead.
I'll just throw out there that, you know, I'm in my third year of law school, so I've been fortunate enough to know 3 different cohorts of LLM students, and they've all been wonderful and really valued members of our student community. I've known other LLM governors from past years. I have known other LLM students from all over the world, and still keep in touch with a couple of them. They are just wonderful people, and we're always happy to see them.
Thank you. Excellent. Well, thank you to each of our panelists for being here today. I appreciate you giving of your time in this way and sharing about your experience. And if we didn't get to your question today, please do feel welcome to contact me. We are happy to continue the conversation, connect you with current students. And like I said, I don't have any other webinars just like this one planned in the near future, but we will be happy to share the recording from today's event. And we'll keep in touch. So thank you, everyone. Take care.